What's up, world? MillJackson Reaction, back with another video. In this video, we're going to talk about how Africans have no friends and are unwanted when they leave their country in the pursuit of a better way of life. Even the president of a country claimed that Africans are trying to change their demographics and that they're unwanted there. By making a statement like that, the president essentially green-lighted violence against Africans in his country. Check it out. Let's get into what the president of Tunisia had to say. Migration is a plot to change Tunisia's demographics. Traders who are working for foreign countries and shady parties are targeting the Tunisian state. Today, they are speaking about the issue of Sub-Saharan African migrants. We helped them during the COVID-19 pandemic, distributing medicines, and we are proud of our African identity. But today, they want to change the demographic composition of Tunisia. It's a plot, and they get paid for it, like they got paid in other fields to attack the state, the Tunisian people, and their identity. What?
On social media, a video of another racist attack on black migrants in Tunisia. Such attacks are prohibited by law, but rights groups say they're condoned by the country's president. Last week, Kais Saied said, quote, hordes of sub-Saharan Africans were changing the demographic makeup of the country, sparking racist attacks throughout the nation. This is what is left of one black woman's home after it was ransacked. Black men and women say they are arbitrarily rounded up by police because of the color of their skin.
Wow, so that's deep. The police are even in on it. It's like, who can you turn to if you can't turn to the police?
We really need help from all over the world because we are really suffering here.
Hundreds of Ivorians and Guineans are now being repatriated, some injured and unable to walk after the beatings.
We live in fear. People are scared to go out, even those that have the right paperwork. And for those that don't have visas, they get thrown out on the spot.
Many of them were hoping to make it to Europe. Most African migrants from Senegal and West Africa are not fleeing war, but poverty. But Europeans don't want them on their continent and have signed agreements with North African countries like Tunisia to stop them from crossing the Mediterranean.
Now that's crazy. You migrate up north so you can get to the border, but those countries have already made deals with Europe to keep you out. Europe doesn't even want you in there.
According to aid agencies, there are 30 to 50,000 African migrants living in Tunisia illegally. Tunisian rights activist Miriam Mastour says they are mistreated and do menial jobs that Tunisians don't want to do. She says she and her husband have also experienced abuse.
So racism has a long history in Tunisia against black people, even if black people are like 10 or 15% of the population. Now people in Tunisia are in a social and economic crisis. So the president, he uses black people as a scapegoat.
So the president is using them as a political pawn because they're feeling an economic crunch now. And he is using them and blaming it on it's 12 million people that live in Tunisia, but it's only 30,000 migrants. So he's blaming it on the migrants and using them as a ploy or a decoy because of the economy. So he won't face backlash.
Now to Tunisia, which is seeing a surge in racist attacks on people from sub-Saharan Africa after the country's president alleged black migrants were part of an international plot to change the country's demographic makeup. Many of the migrants arriving in Tunisia come from Ivory Coast, Mali, or Senegal. Migration to Tunisia has increased in recent years as it's considered safer than neighboring Libya. Some move on to Europe, but others end up staying. Official figures show the country of 12 million is currently home to 21,000 migrants from sub-Saharan Africa. Now, many are finding they're no longer welcome. DW's Jan-Philip Schultz reports from Tunisia.
There's not much to do now that he's lost his job. Pierre Zanga came from Cameroon to Tunisia 5 years ago, wanting to send money home. But his residency expired, and his boss at a restaurant suddenly became nervous after the president said he wanted to fight against illegal migrants. Watching videos doesn't help. Pierre's social media is full of actual or supposed violence between locals and people like him.
I've been singing, dancing with people in the street, and suddenly everything changed. They look at people, change to you. That, believe me, is like a movie, a scary movie, you see.
Tunisians have shown support for people President Said called criminals who are infiltrating Tunisian culture. And the World Bank said it would suspend its partnership with the country. But the foreign minister can't comprehend these steps. He told DW he sees Tunisia as a victim of a hostile campaign.
Well, those reactions are over-exaggerated, and we feel that they are very much unfair. But we are open to any dialogue in order to find the best solution that will protect the dignity and the rights of...
He lying so bad that it's getting choked up in his throat. He can't even swallow. He can't even swallow. He can't swallow that lie he's about to spit out.
Well, those reactions are over-exaggerated, and we feel that they are very much unfair. But we are open to any dialogue in order to find the best solution that will protect the dignity and the rights of all the migrants.
Many Tunisians seem to support the president. The country's economy is in crisis, and many accuse irregular migrants of taking jobs away from locals.
I'm against too many Africans here in Tunisia. We should deport them, especially in such difficult times as now.
More, let's bring in Sazabir Chalali. She's Director of Human Rights Watch in Tunisia and joins us from Amman, Jordan. Thanks for being with us. Sazabir, what is the situation like for black migrants in Tunisia today?
Thank you. As we heard, the authority refused to recognize the problem of racism today, and they announced some measures to facilitate the residency procedures for students, but all this announcement feels more like a mere announcement after the president's speech triggered this unprecedented crisis. And as we speak, dozens of people are still living in front of international organization headquarters in the streets of Tunis because they don't feel safe anywhere else, because they lost their jobs, have been evicted from their homes, and faced violent assaults following the president's racist rhetoric.
So after the president made his announcement, there was so much violence and so much unrest. The migrants had to sleep basically at the embassy. They had to go sleep and just be somewhere where they felt a little bit safe, because they didn't feel safe off in the land, off in the city, off in the country. They had to go to like the embassies, their little embassies or international place, just for a little bit of refuge.
After the 5 years that they have spent in Tunisia, their whole life must be made to fit into just a few suitcases. Heartbreak for Oscar and his wife. These two Ivorians have chosen to return to their country of origin. They no longer want to have to suffer the almost daily threats and attacks.
It didn't take long for me to start regretting coming here, only 4 or 5 months. I have to say it, I am not happy here. For example, I was once beaten up on the bus because I dared to ask the ticket collector for my change. He told me that I did not give him any money. Then all his brothers started to beat me up on the bus.
These people aren't safe on the streets. These people aren't safe on a bus. These people aren't safe at work. They aren't safe in their businesses.
Reports of racially charged harassment have multiplied in recent weeks, highlighting the treatment of Sub-Saharan migrants by a certain part of the Tunisian population. In these amateur images from France 24's observers, we can see police vehicles and a group of individuals gathered at the bottom of a building occupied by illegal immigrants. This man, identified as the son of the landlord, violently attacks the tenants, insulting them and throwing stones at the apartment. Under Tunisian law, now strictly enforced, a landlord can no longer rent property to or host a foreigner without a residence card. Employers have the same instructions. This situation has become untenable for Sub-Saharan Africans who have migrated to the country illegally. Here in front of the Ivory Coast Embassy in Tunis, there are hundreds of immigrants who have come to request emergency repatriation to their home country.
That's right. Go back home. You're going to learn that there's no place like home, and you got to build up your own. I know it sounds easier said than done, but that is the answer.
My landlord threw me out. Some Tunisians attacked me as I was going out to the shops. I'm 4 months pregnant. They threw stones at us while shouting, "Ivorians, go home."
Many will spend the night here before being transported on buses like this one to the airport.
Don't treat your return as a failure. It's far from that. When you return to your country, go with your head held high, because staying here would be disgraceful.
For those, like Edwidge, who return voluntarily, there is a new exemption from illegal residence penalties that amount to €25 a month.
I would have a penalty of 6 years to pay since I stayed 6 years. It's a lot of money. I couldn't afford it. My options were to leave with the IOM or through the embassy. The crisis made it easier for me to leave. Otherwise, it would have been really slow.
The Tunisian authorities have committed to help organize repatriations at the same time as protecting sub-Saharan immigrants from any form of violence. These measures have been taken in order to ease the tensions that have shaken the country since comments made by the President Kais Saied inflamed the situation. In a speech, he had denounced, among other things, the presence of hordes of illegal immigrants supposedly responsible for violence and crime in Tunisia. Comments that have caused concern among part of the population and that have been condemned by NGOs and the country's main trade union. We join the migrants again, thousands of kilometers away, on the tarmac of Abidjan Airport. Repatriated citizens, relieved to be back home. Among these migrants is Oscar, whom we met in Tunis.
When I got off the plane, I didn't recognize the airport. Everything has changed here. Everything here is new.
By the grace of God, I really feel at home. I'm happy to be among my brothers and sisters. I don't have anything else to say. I've forgotten everything else. We went through some difficult times there.
Wow, that's deep. Times got so bad there that you had to just block it out your mind and forget about it.